Today, there was a bomb threat at the DNC. There's currently reports of an active shooting in Annapolis. There were some false threats, bomb threats, and shooting threats at various universities. And of course, it is 9/11, and it is the day after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. As I was watching the news earlier, I couldn't help but I just had a strange feeling. Every few minutes, they were reporting some type of conflict, the ones I just mentioned. And I'm thinking to myself, what this is insanity. That maybe people are panicking, they're on high alert. These universities where they were reporting shootings or bomb threats was because people are panicking and they're genuinely terrified following what happened to Charlie. But the media, of course, has already responded. And of course they did. With numerous outlets writing that fears of civil war are emerging, or that civil war is here or coming, or that even Donald Trump is fomenting it intentionally to steal the midterms. I kid you not. Videos are emerging of fights breaking out. People are not tolerating the rhetoric coming from these activists. In one video, a man with a sign that said Charlie deserved it was thrown into a fountain. Regular people are starting to snap over the actions of these progressives in the left. Donald Trump put out a statement last night talking about the radical left and their rhetoric. So, to be honest, there was a lot of news to go over. What with these shootings, bomb threats, etc. There is also the FBI releasing an image of a person of interest, TMZ publishing a video that they say is of this person who appears to be walking strangely, perhaps because they were concealing a weapon. We're not entirely sure. But all of it seems wrapped up in the cultural phenomenon that is on X to millions of views, on Blue Sky to millions of views, in the comments of our old shows that featured Charlie Kirk. These leftists are calling for an escalation. Certainly, there are people on the right that are saying this is war and war is here. One post has nearly 10,000, I think around 8,000 to 9,000 retweets, saying that civil war is now. And so that is my fear. But what I will say is, if you've paid attention to this show, we've discussed everything that brought us to this moment in the past several years, which we'll get into. Right now, of course, we fear the safety and security of our friends, our family, other personalities. And as much as I would have preferred to lead with any other story, I think this is the conversation that is happening. And so we just have to have that conversation. And so we will. So, my friends, thank you for joining us. Of course, like the show. If you do like the show, share it if you'd like. No promo spots today. Joining us today to talk about this and so much more is Jay Johnston.
Hello. How you doing? Thanks for having me. I will tell you what I do, so you don't have to ask. I'm a ex-comedian, ex-writer in Hollywood, and I was at January 6th, which was a big blip and caused me to not be what I was before. So that's still my plan to do that stuff. But now that that's over, pardoned and everything. So we'll see what the future holds.
Right on. Thanks for joining us. In fact, one of the articles, Mother Jones wrote that pardoned J6ers are calling for civil war in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
So,
but we'll talk about everything. We've got Tate Brown hanging out.
Yeah, Tate Brown here, relief host here at Timcast. Obviously, dark times we're in, but I'm glad to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Morgan. You can usually find me on Pop Culture Crisis here at Timcast.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
Here's the story from The Independent. The reaction to Charlie Kirk's murder proves America is closer than ever to its next civil war. The most terrifying aspect of the current reality of the United States is not the assassination of the 31-year-old Trump activist, but how people have responded, writes Stephen Marsh, author of The Next Civil War. As the sense of collective mourning no longer applies, this is a turning point for what comes next. He actually writes a pretty great article. He makes a great point, which I will read through this. I want to show you some of these other articles, where he says that even the cold-blooded murder in broad daylight of a 31-year-old man in front of his family was not enough to make these people recognize right from wrong. And I don't disagree. Take a look at this article from International Business Times. First, Charlie Kirk. Are Candace Owens or Ben Shapiro next? Fears grow for conservative influencers. Mother Jones writes, pardoned insurrectionists are using Charlie Kirk's death to call for civil war. We have this from The Lever. We must stop this civil war before it's unstoppable. The Lever actually writing that it's already begun. They're writing in the present tense that it's happening. Here's Yahoo Finance. Concerns grow that bot networks may be amplifying calls for civil war after Charlie Kirk killing. And perhaps on social media, that is what we're seeing. This post on X, it says, open carry now, civil war has begun. It has 5.8 million views and 8,400 retweets. We have this post from Common Dreams. This is a well-known activist organization that published the article saying, is Trump inciting a Civil War 2.0 to steal the midterms? And then we have this from NDTV, Civil War Echoes. Sanjeev Sanyal warns U.S. resembles April 1861. I want to read a little bit from The Independent, and then we can have this conversation. The reason why, you know that we've talked about this quite a bit. I, of course, have talked about it, and I will say it. And I wish I was wrong, but I was not wrong. And to all of the people who have continually denied what we have discussed on this show for the past several years, we have not been wrong. We've been relatively vague, and that's fair because we're not making heavy predictions. But I will remind you of this. One of the things that really irked me was in September of 2020, I stated on this show that were Trump to lose, these right-wing people are going to rush the White House. They're going to storm the White House. They are not going to just let this go idly by. And that was just passive thought. That was just, I can't see these people letting Trump lose. And what happened? January 6th. I said in November after, like, Trump, if Trump loses, this is what's going to happen. What did happen in January? People stormed the Capitol. Following this, people used my earlier accurate prediction on the left to claim I had foreknowledge of January 6th and should be criminally charged or investigated. In fact, I was just reading the news and making a prediction. And what did I say just last year? In a debate on the Culture War show that Donald Trump would use the military in the ICE and immigration enforcement. The left would not tolerate it. There would be a battle between the governors and the federal government over control of the National Guard, and it will escalate. And that is exactly where we are right now. And every step of the way I said, I hope I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe this right now is the point. This story where people say, this has gone too far. Left and right, Christian, Jew, Muslim come together. They say, guys, we can't live this way, and they hug it out. Maybe this is the point, but I don't believe it. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to read this from Stephen Marsh, who says, at the time of writing, the suspect in the shooting of Charlie Kirk is still at large and his motivations are unknown. But the identity of the killer and the reasons for killing hardly matter. Whoever they are and whatever their intention, the fallout is utterly predictable. Divided America will divide further. Political violence already surging will surge further. America will continue further down the road to perdition of the republic. He says far more political figures have been murdered in American history than in the history of any other democracy. More than a quarter of U.S. presidents have either survived an assassination attempt or died at the hands of a killer. But in the past, each assassination of a president or a judge was treated as a collective national tragedy. It was understood that the violence perpetrated by whomever was a disaster for the body politic as a whole. Politics exist, after all, to save us from violence as a means of resolving disputes. The sense of collective mourning no longer applies. The reaction to Kirk's death instantaneously split American discourse. Here was a 31-year-old man murdered in broad daylight in front of his wife and children before a crowd of thousands at Utah Valley University. Americans could not agree that that was unacceptable. I don't want to promote or identify people on social media who crowd about the death like their team had just won a football game, but on my feeds at least, it was not limited to a few cranks or extremists. Quote, what about the children killed in Colorado? Was a perfectly common sentiment. Anyone on the left who imagines the political assassination of their opponents is going to lead to more stability or a better America is seriously deluded. I will say this personally. a high-profile individual, a liberal that I've known for 10 years, posted a video on their Instagram saying Charlie Kirk got what he advocated for. And I was shocked that they posted this because I genuinely thought that there was still reason left in some of these people, but I can't say that I feel that way, and I don't know what's going to happen. Now he goes on to add, journalists are now targets. The political class and judges have been under extreme threat since Trump took office. It's hard to even keep track of it anymore. The former House Speaker of Minnesota and her husband were murdered in June. A Molotov cocktail was thrown at the governor of Pennsylvania's house during Passover. And U.S. judges who sit on Trump cases regularly receive pizzas delivered to them as an intimidation tactic. Targeting journalists is new. Last month, the New York Times editor Joseph Kahn had his apartment graffitied in New York. Kirk's assassination is the organic continuation of these trends. But you know what was really scary? Charlie Kirk is not a journalist. He was a personality. He was a civilian. He was a man who expressed opinions. He didn't write for a great news publication, purport to be a journalist. He shared his thoughts on the goings-on of this country. And this is what's terrifying. Now, there's much more that he writes about, but I don't want to just keep, ranting myself. The point, I think, is clear, and you have seen it. The comments on social media on the left. There are tiers of this. From the overt leftist calls for escalation, the publishing of videos from lesser-known personalities on TikTok, Instagram, and X saying one guy said, "You're next," over and over again. We know what the implication was that he was making. Several are gloating, saying, "Who's next?" There's lists that have been published, which include my name, saying, "Here's who we want next." There are people on Blue Sky, X, Instagram, etc., saying, "Here's the list of people they want to go after." It is insanity. And that is all across social media. So with that being the sentiment, that's one tier. The next tier are the people who are prominent liberals, high-profile actors, high-profile politicians, people like Ilhan Omar, for instance, who are coming out and saying, yeah, well, maybe Charlie shouldn't have said hateful things. So you have the tacit liberal, Charlie got what he deserved attitude, and then you have the overt leftist, we're coming for the rest of you. I will give a shout out to the handful of prominent liberals who have condemned the violence. Many of the high-profile Democrats have, and I respect that. Without naming them, because I don't seek to embarrass them. Some of these young liberals crying on camera over Charlie's death, talking about how bad it is. But with all of that being said, it's the sentiment we are seeing reeks of an untenable bifurcation in the body politic. We have said it on this show many times. Where is the off-ramp? And unfortunately, and one of the most terrifying comments that I got was, Charlie Kirk was the off-ramp. He held debates, and he succeeded at those debates. And were his methods to have been permanently successful, the course of politics in this country was rooted in having a conversation. Across Louisville, there are graphics that have been drawn up in less than a day of pictures of Charlie Kirk that say, debate this, with blood spraying from his neck. I refuse to watch the videos of these people advocating for my death and the death of other people, because I know it will just make me angry, and I already factually understand these people exist. I just fear that there is no backing down, and the only thing I can say is every direction I look and have looked over the past several years, this goes in one direction. But I'm curious now what y'all think.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly does feel like from the right wing's perspective that a Rubicon was crossed. I mean, John Doyle had a viral tweet yesterday where he said, "You just killed the last person in America that wanted to change your mind." And that's just the common sentiment you're seeing on the right, is they're saying this was the olive branch, this was the off-ramp, this was the pathway back to civil discourse,
Yep.
and they chewed it up and shot the man who was pushing that. So,
And
again, yeah.
I just want to, I think everyone understands this. Charlie didn't think this was going to happen.
Right.
He's had conversations about the fears of threats to his safety, but this was a man that so believed in the goodness of this country, despite the violence we had seen, that he was going out in public doing these events because, of course, none of us thought this was possible.
Yeah, I said this today on PCC. Like, one of the things that's really frustrating, at least to me personally, is in my mentions and stuff, replies on X, because I've been tweeting up a storm about the whole situation, like retweeting stuff. There's a lot of people that say, oh, because I made a remark yesterday about, I want the feds to use their authority and actually treat these people as if they're inciting. And people are like, oh, well, what happened to the First Amendment? What happened to the First Amendment? The First Amendment was Charlie.
Yep.
Right? Like, Charlie was the guy that wanted to go and speak and use persuasion. Well, the left doesn't want that, clearly. Like, they don't want to hear other opinions. So I'm not the First Amendment guy. I'm the guy that comes after him. Mm-hmm. I want the feds to do something. I want the government to. And I don't care when people tell me, oh, if you let the feds do something, they're gonna do it to you when they're already gonna. Like, if the Democrats get back into power, they're already going to throw people in jail. They're already going to change the laws to punish conservatives. Now, I know there are people around the table that disagree with me, and that's fine. But the fact of the matter is, the right and people on the right have been treated as second-class citizens for at least 10 years. That it has been where if you go out wearing a MAGA hat, you risk getting beat up for wearing clothes. This is something that has been the norm for people on the right, and I'm just tired of it. So now that the right has the office of the presidency, has the Congress, has the Senate, I want the government to go after the people that are attacking people over their politics. This is terrorism. The whole point of shooting Charlie was to shut the right up, make the right afraid to speak their mind. It's terrorism.
It was
Very
done
simple.
with a written message on the weapon they found, and it was done in the most public way possible.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They've demonstrated that having critiques of abortion and gay marriage or transgenderism, the punishment for that is death. There's a segment of the country that has demonstrated that is what that warrants. There's no going back. There is. How do you possibly handle that?
I just think that if Charlie somehow were given any foresight that this was going to happen, he wouldn't have changed a thing. Yeah. And that's why I think that the solution isn't just more speech, although that is going to be the consequence. And I'm glad that people are going to feel emboldened to speak out because of this. The solution, more importantly, is a spiritual one. And people are coming to realizations that would have taken years, many more years, for them to come to in the span of just a day or 2 days. And one of them is that we're living in the midst of very real spiritual warfare that's going on all around us and inside us that's mostly invisible. But yesterday it was visible.
Perhaps the most radicalizing thing I could imagine was the killing of Charlie Kirk.
Was Trump the one that said that he was a martyr, the perfect martyr?
I don't know. Did Trump say that?
What is the job of a martyr? What does a martyr do?
Martyr inspires people.
Yeah, and so he becomes a symbol.
Yeah. Trump said he's a martyr for truth and freedom.
Mm-hmm. It remains to be seen because, you're speaking of violence, begetting violence, and the possibility of civil war erupting or continuing, getting worse. Maybe that's not what's going to happen.
So watching the news today, seeing, the DNC had been, I think they evacuated over a bomb threat, was deemed to be not credible. Reports of shootings at universities. That's what civil war looks like. That's what social collapse and governmental collapse or revolution, that's what instability looks like. People, I make this point quite a bit, but they think it's all movies. There
are no fronts, you mean? There's no attacks en masse.
Everybody, there will be some, but if you take a look at the Syrian civil war, I've worked with people who are on the ground there who showed me their work. I did not go on the ground. Although we tried. I actually tried getting a crew to go in. That's a crazy story. And so some of the people we worked with, in one instance, one of the circumstances, it was 2 guys with rifles hidden up in the back of a building in a standard market area, shooting people who walked by. They were a rebel faction that were attacking people deemed to be loyalists or government actors, agents, or otherwise. So they were in an area that was controlled by the enemy, and it was just 2 guys. And so you're walking down the street, you're going to the market, and then all of a sudden you hear bangs. You have no idea where they're coming from, and people are falling. And when I turn on the TV, and every few minutes they're reporting some kind of conflict, shooting, bombing, things like that, I'm not saying that we're in civil war. I'm saying that's what you can expect. If we were to enter one, it will not be battlefronts marching towards each other. They're not going to say, there's not going to be 2 groups that organize, Congress, internal, the People's Republic and the
They don't have
Liberty.
skirmishes, you mean? There's no skirmishes type of thing.
Skirmishes will happen. No. But it's not going to be the North and the South. That's not what civil wars look like. And Americans are plagued by our history into believing that's what a civil war is. But the issue was you had in the American Civil War sovereign states that were debating with each other, and those sovereign states had armies, and they could negotiate as power structures amongst each other. The factions already existed. In almost every single civil war ever, random factions emerge in various areas. Partisans, it's not a unified front in any meaningful way. That's like Syria, for instance, or Spain, or Russia. And so what we're likely to see now, after everything we've seen, and I'm going to stress this again, as I've said every time, the time travel test, I call it, go back 10 years and tell people where we are today. Someone will have shot the president in the head. Fortunately, by turning it, it would have only grazed his ear. Another man will have gone to his golf club, his golf course, aiming a rifle, trying to kill him. That trial ongoing now. That there would have been the January 6th, the storming of the Capitol, the riots, the protests, the George Floyd riots, the firebombing of St. John's Church and the White House, the January 6th committee, the arrest of Donald Trump, the prosecution of Donald Trump, the accusations of insurrection and sedition, etc., the 21 years in prison for the Proud Boys. If you went back 10 years, and every day this story gets crazier. If you went back 10 years and said, here's 10 years in the future, nobody would believe you. And the funny thing about it is, the proof is in that 6 months ago, I shouldn't say nobody believed me, but 6 months ago, people thought, I hope you're wrong, Tim. There are people that told me it couldn't happen. 2 years ago, they said, Tim's crazy. He's screaming civil war. And today, many of the general predictions that I made have happened, up to one of the worst moments I couldn't possibly imagine, that I didn't think was possible, but was implied in what we were discussing. And what I fear next, because I can see these videos that people are posting about Charlie, I can see the images they're making of him, the images that I am not going to share on this show, but are easily found on YouTube, where they are putting up these cartoon images of Charlie Kirk. It says, debate this, with blood spraying from his neck. They are reveling, gloating, and these are not bots. These are real people celebrating the murder of a man who was engaged in democracy as they claim to want. And here's what I fear, and I would tell people, cooler heads must prevail. Victory will come through the fact that Donald Trump was a friend of Charlie Kirk and is our president. Many members of Congress were friends with Charlie Kirk and are in control, though it's slim. And there are many prominent liberals who are terrified of what it means to be on the wrong side of this. Some of them crying on their shows today. With that being said, my fear is that there are many people who are inspired by Charlie Kirk who feel like they have nothing to lose because they are young men with no jobs, no wives, no girlfriends, no prospects. And they watched Charlie's content. He had millions of followers. They went to his events. And what will that person who looked up to Charlie feel when they see some guy with 15 million views on X posting that he's happy, posting that he would have done it himself given the opportunity, and posting that he will do it again? There are people that are making videos saying there's more to come, and they're posting lists of names. My fear is that there's way too many people, as Rudyard Lynch has pointed out, that are young, listless men that feel they have no purpose, who have just been pointed in a dangerous direction.
I mean, that's the thing, is we know what could come next. I mean, we don't know the specifics, but we know there's gonna be a lot of bloodshed potentially. And that's the horrifying thing. And that's why it's so frustrating seeing so many, especially Republicans, like tone police throw inside and say, guys, no, we need peace and unity right now. And it's like, they just shot Charlie Kirk. We want, like Phil is saying, we want the feds to break this, to nip this in the bud, because we know the future we're heading down. We know what road we're heading down. And there's no peace and unity with people that want to kill you for having vaguely conservative takes.
That is an important point. What I am calling for is the federal government to do what it is there to do. Find the terrorists that will do this to other conservatives and put them in jail.
That's why I'm saying I'm not so much worried about right-wing men, listless young men who might have looked up to Charlie Kirk, being radicalized into considering violence from this. I think it's actually something that's just going to embolden people on the left to commit more acts of violence. And still, even now, the people who are being tone policed by their own side are still only calling for justice through the proper channels because they're good people, because they have scruples and they have morals.
Because TOS violations, Mary.
Which TOS violation?
Well, we can't say we're limited to what we can or cannot say here, and also it's irresponsible to call for things that are illegal. So
even beyond,
I don't want to be. I don't want to.
Is that the only reason why you're?
I don't want to be the guy
federal government to do.
I don't want to be the guy that's responsible for being like, oh, go take things in for your own hand. Like
I
I'm
don't
not
think
do
that people should do that.
So well,
genuinely, I don't.
Well, I think Kirk.
Do you?
No.
I don't have much faith in the FBI personally. So, I mean, them taking the reins, we saw some bad side of them in the last few years. Things got out of hand. You know, I don't know what to say. I don't know who to say would be better, but I just don't know if that's the way. You know?
I don't think there's any other way out besides the federal intervention, quite frankly.
The federal government must, but the outcome to that equation is kindergarten arithmetic. The only solution that we have before us is law enforcement. But when you are in a country that has a bifurcated culture where, as Stephen Marsh put it, they can't even agree on a 31-year-old man murdered in cold blood in broad daylight in front of his family, when Donald Trump says, we cannot live like this, and we will have law enforcement against domestic terrorism, each and every one of you know what their response is going to be. I don't need to say it.
Right.
Who wants to say what they're going to respond with?
They're going to up the ante even more.
They're going to say, this is exactly what we predicted. Trump is a tyrant, and this is how fascism begins.
Yeah.
They're going to say, and this is how democracy dies, to thunderous applause. And they're going to call themselves the heroes. They're going to call themselves the Jedi. Whatever fictional Harry Potter reference they can make, they'll make. And then they will go to scared old people who watch CNN. As CNN, let me show you this. When CNN covered the story about the transgender and Antifa ideology on the weapons, they omitted that information and called it cultural issues.
Yeah.
Then Seth Moulton went on CNN and said 74% or some number of violence comes from the right and only 4% from the left, which is a fake, made-up statistic. And the CNN viewers are sitting there saying, yes, this was a one random thing, but the right's really the problem. When Donald Trump responds by saying, we will not tolerate seditious violence, murder, assassinations, the CNN viewer is primed for the progressive to go to them and say, see, we warned you. And that's what we predicted last year. I don't see any other path forward for Trump, because what we were saying is use law enforcement as legally empowered to do. Arrest people who break the law. But that is always seen by these people as fascism or some slight against them. Let me pull this up real quick. We have this on Google. Yesterday, I should say throughout the month, Civil War had a moderate search volume. I can zoom in a little bit more. And of course, it now has maximum search volume. So this is a relative search number. 100 means it can't be higher. That relative to where Civil War was searched for before, this is maximum search load. It was around 50 on average. It's from 0 to 100. Yesterday was 73. It is now at 100. Media is writing about it, claiming Donald Trump is pushing it to win the midterms, as we showed you with that Common Dreams article. Mother Jones is claiming Jan 6ers are preparing for civil war. Stephen Marsh, who wrote the book The Next Civil War, is published in The Independent, saying, this is exactly what we've warned you about, and we've never been closer. There are a lot of people, prominent personalities, that are going to say, stop, no, and don't talk about it. The unfortunate reality is, as Google proves here, everyone is talking about it. Whether anyone wants to admit it, the conversation has been happening across social media. Yesterday, I think the most common word saw on YouTube was the word war. And I saw people getting pissed off, conservatives saying, stop saying that. But you can't tell people what to comment. I looked at the comments of some of these progressive YouTubers. War, 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 just every other word. On one of our videos that featured Charlie Kirk, new comments from a 4-year-old video, gloating, threatening, insulting. I mean, this is the craziest I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like, I don't think that anyone here would disagree with your estimation of what the left will do in response, right? I just don't think that there's a whole lot of choice.
I agree.
You know,
this is the dominoes falling over.
Yep.
Trump must use the law enforcement that he has, the law enforcement powers he has. The federal government, the DOJ, Cash, Dan, Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, DHS, they must use their legally authorized authorities to stop violent crime like this. The left is happy that it happened. They've lionized Luigi Mangione. On primetime television, they lionized him. They cheered for him. They clapped for the terror attacks on the Tesla dealerships. They do not exist in the same government that we do. That is an observation. When Trump wins, they say he stole it, he's illegitimate. Trump is president now. Immigration was a principal issue. Many people are upset over the mass illegal immigration. So Trump says, we will enforce the law. Trump has used only the law as is granted to him, and every step of the way they've claimed what he's doing is illegal. They have lied about everything, from who is responsible for political violence to defending an adjudicated MS-13 gang member accused of beating his wife and charged with human smuggling. They have called him but a Maryland father. So when Trump says, I have to deport the narco gang member, they go on CNN, on MSNBC, and in these activist circles, and they look at the ignorant masses and say, Trump just arrested an innocent Maryland father and is sending him to a supermax prison to be tortured. So you know what the response is going to be. We all do. And it's the left is going to respond with escalation. Now, where does that go? If we follow this equation to its natural conclusion, we start entering into more variables as we make predictions moving forward. It seems likely the only reaction that we're going to see, for a variety of reasons, will be federal law enforcement. One, because it is the standard response. The federal government enforces the law. But there's several things to factor in. Dan Bongino and Charlie Kirk were good friends. Kash Patel and Charlie Kirk were good friends. And Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk were good friends. And so at the top of law enforcement, these people, they want something more than just the law and justice. Mm-hmm. They will follow that through. The left, I believe it's fairly obvious what they will do. They are already engaging in, and have been for a while. I mean, with the firebombing and the attack on the White House. That's back in 2020. From there are many variables, and it becomes difficult to predict. Will Donald Trump win? Will he lose? Will we win? Will we lose? What does winning look like? I have no idea. It's entirely possible that this moment, there is a strong probability tomorrow the left is completely banned, shunned, and ostracized because we are seeing prominent progressives, some, speak out against this, but we are seeing prominent Democrat leaders condemn this. There was booing in Congress over prayer for Charlie Kirk, so it's hard to know for sure. There is a strong possibility that this event is so shocking that even Democrats just say, leave me out of this, and tell the left, you're on your own. And then big tech cracks down and purges these people, and they are shunned and ostracized. However, what I will add is in Stephen Marsh's article for The Independent, he points out that as he was writing his book, The Next Civil War, January 6th happened. And he got a call from a friend who said, sorry about your book, it's over. This event is so shocking, the American people are going to step back from the edge of the cliff and say, we cannot go this far. And boy, was he wrong. From that, Stephen Marsh says he fears that the only thing that's going to happen is this escalation. The way there's a company right now, and I'm not going to show these photos. They're selling T-shirts, cartoon images of Charlie Kirk dying and bleeding to death. They're selling T-shirts. That's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly what you're talking about. I mean, the risk of leftist violence, it's here. It's manifested itself. It's gone kinetic, and it's going to ramp up more and more. And that's why the Trump admin can't half-bake this. That's why they can't run the risk of leaving any power left on the table. It has to be a complete crackdown, total crackdown. You need to break this and end this forever. Rip it out, root and stem, ostracize. Enough. They've demonstrated they're a death cult. They've demonstrated that they took enjoyment in watching what happened to Charlie Kirk. Enough. We can't live like this. We can't share society with this. This is unacceptable.
So just a quick update. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are on the ground in Utah. There will be a press conference within the hour. We will have that ready to go when it does drop. So we will be monitoring the situation. And when that press conference goes live, it will be up and we will watch that. But yeah. Anyway. Sorry, you were saying.
No, yeah. I was just saying they can't half-bake this. They have to come down as hard as humanly possible because you can't, like I was saying earlier, you can't leave any power on the table. You can't leave them a weapon to grab because they've demonstrated now they're willing to go there. They're willing to take out Charlie Kirk. And like I said, Charlie Kirk's politics represent probably a majority of Americans because it's very sensible conservative politics. They say the penalty for holding those beliefs is death. So no, they can't half-bake this. They have to come in hard and end this forever.
You know, the Yankees had that moment of silence. I think it was a moment of silence for Charlie.
Yeah.
Amazing. I saw that in Vegas, at least one marquee putting up a memorial for Charlie. The New York Times on their header bar of their site had a small memorial for Charlie Kirk. I am hoping that this was so genuinely shocking that many of the mainstream institutions step back and say, leave me out of this. Without naming some of these liberals, I don't know if you guys saw the videos of them crying, bawling their eyes out. And we were talking about it, and I think it was Kellen who was saying, I think maybe they realized just what they've been advocating for or directing, and maybe they're realizing this is not a game anymore. You know, Hassan apparently was very cognizant of the fact, it was reported by the New York Times that he was telling his fans to stop cheering for this because he's next. He is the target on the left. Charlie is the target on the right, and he does not want that.
But at the same time, he was still spreading this rhetoric about how point scoring off of it.
Yep.
You know, saying that he essentially brought this on himself. So,
and attacking the right for it, and saying
to make of that.
Well, I don't think they were horrified.
It's an addiction.
He hasn't learned anything.
It's an addiction.
He has not learned a thing.
Well, he is among the dumbest on the left.
Yeah.
And the biggest.
Right.
Yeah. But it is an addiction. These people cannot stop themselves.
Well, and I don't think they were horrified. I mean, they were horrified and shocked, obviously, but they're horrified because they realized what they've been ratcheting up, what pressure they've been ratcheting up could happen to them.
It was a self-interested
right.
fear.
They were saying, "Oh gosh, that's on the table. I didn't know."
Yeah.
They weren't. This wasn't from empathy. This was from them.
Self-preservation. Yeah.
Precisely. And it won't happen to them because political violence is left-wing coded and rebellion is right-wing coded. That's why when me and Tim were sitting here, like, when was the last right-wing riot? You could say J6, but you had to go back to like the Civil War because that's how the right wing expressed.
Was it Brooks Brothers?
Or Brooks Brothers, right? Yeah,
which is like, come on.
But it's classy. He's got a suit on and a tie on. It's right wing coded. But yeah, you got to go back to like the Civil War. We express ourselves in revolutions, and Charlie Kirk was a revolutionary. He took the mainstream and pulled it in the direction that he wanted to. The left wing, all they can express themselves through is violence. That's all they can do.
That's one of the reasons for that, I think, is because the left does look at violence as a dial,
right?
And the right looks at violence like a switch. The right says, no, we don't do that. We don't engage in those things. We don't do this kind of stuff. That's not proper. And it's the same reason that the GOP and Republicans have been getting, crapped on by Zoomers because they're the do-nothing Republicans. They don't, they won't ever stand up, blah, blah, blah. Because it's, the reason why Roe versus Wade took so long to overturn is because the Republicans went about it the right way. They got enough presidents to put enough votes on the court, and then got Roe brought back in front of the court. They went about it the right way. Democrats just try to go around the law because it's a dial. It's an access to power. Republicans or conservatives, people with the Republican impulses, when it's time for violence, it's massive violence. It's total war. It's annihilate the enemy. It's destroy them. It's leave no survivors, win at all costs, and destroy them. But it takes so long for the right to get there because it seems like the right actually has a real, honest, in touch understanding of the horror of that perspective. Whereas the left is like, well, I'm going to go beat this person up, and if I can get them to do what I want now, well, then it's fine.
It's just as simple as people on the right believe in the dignity of the human person.
True, yes.
And when they're given the opportunity to point score, which they were given with the death of Irina Zarutska, and also that poor little girl in Scotland who was being harassed by a migrant, they had the opportunity to politically point score about it and say, well, they voted for it. And I'm not saying that no one said that, but certainly I saw no prominent right-wing voices
largely it wasn't
repeating that.
Right.
Even when they had the opportunity, because they still believe in the sanctity of human life.
I want to jump to the story from the Daily Mail. Powerful moment. J.D. Vance carries Charlie Kirk's coffin as mourning wife and family join him on final journey. Everybody loved this guy, and it is amazing the response from so many people who had been assisted and cared for and inspired by Charlie Kirk. Even the vice president came to carry his casket. We have this video from Nick Sorter. Charlie's casket now on the move through Arizona, being escorted by a large motorcade. He is receiving the presidential level send-off he deserves. Donald Trump has stated he will be posthumously rewarding him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which he absolutely deserves. And so it's just incredible to see the respect and just the honor and the dignity and the response that we're getting from the U.S. government for Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot. It says a lot when the vice president is the guy that's like, no, we're going to take him home.
Right.
Is that's not Stephen Miller, I don't think, no.
And it just shows what a lion and titan Kirk was. Because, I mean, he wasn't just a commentator. Like, he had built Turning Point from the ground up, and he had single-handedly occupied and reinvented the mainstream. I mean, there's no question about it. He's a paradigm changer. And I mean, just institutional. This is what I've been telling people: is like no one else was willing to show up to Utah Valley University on a Wednesday afternoon. It's just that's just how he is. That's just how he operates, because he genuinely views America's youth as underserved, undertapped, and he wants to be the guy that matriculates bright, young, right-wing, conservative Christians, people, and he wants to, turn them into viable future leaders and assets for the movement. And there's just such a massive void now that's left in this movement that cannot be replaced. It straight up cannot be replaced.
There are a lot of posts on X from young Gen Z guys who say that their lives were turned around by Charlie. Stories of being kind of just listless, perhaps, not knowing what their purpose was, not knowing where they were going in life. And they went to these Turning Point events, and it lit a fire within them. and they started working towards goals and bettering themselves and improving themselves. And that was it. And what I find truly remarkable is over the past 10 years, any figure that emerges that inspires young men is attacked mercilessly by the narrative machine.
Yep.
Jordan Peterson being one of the first, where they called him a Nazi and alt-right. And it's the weirdest thing because that dude's fairly liberal in a lot of ways. You know,
He was so center. Just, I mean, he's a Canadian. Like, you can't be far right and be Canadian. You know, he was a moderate center guy that just said, I'm not gonna listen. I'm not gonna just bow down to you telling me that I have to use words that you're demanding. That was it. That was all he was saying. You are not going to select the words that I use. You will not. I will not bend the knee to that. That was it. And that made him a Nazi. Insane. Totally insane to say you won't use the words that we demand you use, so you're a Nazi.
But it was the fervor that he inspired in young men that terrified them more than just his own ideas.
But that came after.
And they're so afraid of the potential that exists in young men, that they have not only physical power, but the ability to be so singularly focused and willing to take risks and willing to self-sacrifice. Yeah. That's another thing that Charlie Kirk deserves so much credit for. And another thing that's remarkable about him, which shouldn't be remarkable in politics, but it is that he's just uncomplicated.
Yeah.
And and he did have that singular focus, and he wasn't distracted with drinking or partying or lying or scamming anyone. He was just good. Just uncomplicated good. Yep. And you meet so few people like that in general, but especially in politics. That's what everyone who knew him well is saying.
I think it's fair to say the left knows they have to destroy men.
Yeah.
And so these figures that rise up to give voice to young men and give them direction and purpose, that strengthens a nation. There's a lot we've discussed with Charlie Kirk's efforts politically, but I think that is one that has a huge impact. A lot of these young men veering rightward, it's not just about them voting for Trump. It's about them returning to church.
Yes.
Getting jobs.
Yes.
There was a really interesting trend. I covered one of these stories. A woman posted that she has a guy friend who started getting red-pilled, she called it, and all of a sudden he didn't want to, he was not feminist anymore, he wasn't going to go along with her ideas, and she said, quote, he is cock-blocking himself. Now, what does that translate to? A young man told a woman that he worked with he wasn't going to blindly agree with her so that she would give him sex, that he cared more about truth than getting laid. And what she revealed was she used manipulative tactics and sex to get what she wanted from this man. It's an insane revelation that he was turned around by researching, learning, and changing his life. And outside of just these young men are voting for Trump, it's these young men are waking up.
Yep. I mean, that's why he was such a threat, is because Charlie Kirk, to young men, just reminded. It wasn't even creating something grandiose, this grand story. It was just he reminded you of who you are inside and who you are as a young man and as a young patriot.
Yeah, and what your role is.
And that's absolutely petrifying to the left. The Matt Walsh put it perfectly today, where he said, there's not a bigger compliment for your career than the fact that leftists are in jubilation over your death, because that means that you were a genuine threat and that they're celebrating that he's leaving the ring. And it's so poignant. It's so true. Charlie Kirk was like our quarterback for the movement. He really was. And without him, who knows where we'd be.
The press conference is set for 9:30 p.m. I had a crazy moment today, which is just, I can't believe it, because I was just hanging out with my wife and my daughter, and we were just going over basic family stuff, and we were having a conversation that was just like, I don't want to be too in detail because of security reasons, but it was basic stuff, like, we're going to go to the post office. And my wife looked at me and said, they just killed Charlie. And I was just, it's like, it's impossible for me to believe it. It's weird. It's horrifying and still hard to believe. Like when I pulled up this image, this video from Nick Sorter, and there's a hearse driving in a vehicle, and I'm like, how is this? My brain is just my emotional centers are saying Charlie is not dead. And I cannot exist in a world where I'm watching a video where a car is driving the corpse of Charlie Kirk. It doesn't. No. It's just I can't even. It is a horrifying. It is a nightmare. Mm-hmm. I can't believe I'm looking at this right now. It just doesn't feel real.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's going to take a while for it to feel real.
I mean,
yeah. And look, behind the scenes, we're going over like our production schedules and everything, and I'm like, I have no idea. Nothing. I turn the news on, and every 15 minutes, it's updates on the Charlie Kirk assassination, and then they'll talk about Poland or these other stories, and it's just instant dial tone. Mm-hmm. There's just nothing there. Mm-hmm. When they are talking about Trump's response over Poland and even the story in Annapolis, it just doesn't register. There's no story I could see anywhere. I just exit out, close it out. None of it. It's not real. This is the only thing that we're thinking about, and we're, hopefully by next week, we'll just be, I guess, grieved, chilled a bit, and then we can figure out how things are moving forward. Right now, I mean, I'm talking to friends, and it's a scramble. It's every plan disrupted. Yeah. Every schedule, every meeting erased in an instant.
Yep.
I mean, it's the amazing thing, like talking to a lot of my friends in the space that are active politically, and everyone you talk to, who none of them have any tie-ins together, and Kirk had an iron in the fire with every single one of them.
That's wild.
He was just always working, always just project after project after project. So it's like even beyond Turning Point, I'm talking to guys that probably don't even have any idea of who each other are. Yeah, and Kirk had an iron in the fire with them.
It's actually kind of weird.
Yeah,
some of the conversations I've had.
Superhuman.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, did you know?" I was talking to Charlie about. I'm like, "You were?" Yeah. I was like, "How is that?" Literally everybody I know had been working with Charlie in some capacity. That's that dude. Wow.
He's gonna save this country with brute force, sheer willpower.
Sean Spicer was talking today on one of the shows that he's on, and he was saying that he was looking back through some of his texts with Charlie, and every single time he asked Charlie for anything, Charlie said yes. Would you come on my show? Will you help me do this? Blah, blah, blah. Every single time, Charlie said yes.
Yeah. And that's what I was explaining the other day, that the things that Charlie did to help out us here at Timcast and our crew and Turning Point USA, it was always yes. And as I was saying, I was like, really? Like, he asked me for nothing in return. And I remember, this past year at Turning Point, they tell me, like, we're gonna bring it to the stage, stand right here, we'll give you your cue, then you'll walk out. And I just walk out. I don't know what's going on. And then I saw the video later of, like, they made this montage of me playing on all these screens everywhere. And I'm like, I can't believe how much I was like, wow. I didn't realize how much work and effort they were putting into having me there. It's more than that. It's that I was explaining the other day that when I had talked to Charlie and the TPUSA team about us going out and joining them on stage, it was very much we can't because we do the show every day, and there's no time to travel unless we flew on the weekend. And if we fly on the weekend, then how do we do the show Monday, Tuesday? It doesn't seem possible. And they said, we'll take care of it. We'll take care of your team. We'll take care of you, and we'll build you a studio. And I was like,
incredible.
Okay. And then they did, and they did it for 3 years. Not to be fair, last year we didn't need it. We flew out. I think what you hosted one of the shows. Is that what happened? It's been.
We were out in.
Yeah, like I left in the morning, I think, and then you did. What was it? It was Friday.
Yeah. I hosted one of the shows, and then I flew out the next day, so that way I could be there. Because
right. So we didn't need the studio this year, but getting to be on stage, one of the greatest memories of my life is each and every show that we did in the past 3 years with Turning Point. But most notably, not last year, but the year before with Tucker Carlson and Charlie both honoring me coming on my show, and I get to hang out with these two titans was absolutely incredible. And it was through Charlie's goodwill and great effort to get me and our team there to make that happen, and asking us for nothing in return, which was just it's one of the craziest things. There's so many people that always want something from you, you know? This guy was not one of them.
No.
He apparently was just giving everybody stuff, helping them out, helping them be better versions of themselves, helping them succeed in their endeavors.
And running a business and starting a family, you know, and having a seemingly happy married life, you know, like, and not doing cocaine to do all of it.
For real. Let's jump to the story. This is from the Raw Story. MAGA host subpoenaed by ATF after revealing Charlie Kirk investigation details.
Oh.
This is Steven Crowder. He says he was subpoenaed by the ATF after he revealed alleged details about an investigation into the shooting of Charlie Kirk. In a Thursday morning post on X, Crowder claimed to have received an email from an officer at the ATF. The message included what he said were details about a weapon and cartridges located by an ATF and other law enforcement near the scene of the Charlie Kirk shooting at Utah Valley State University. All cartridges have engraved wording on them expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideology. The New York Times later suggested that law enforcement officials had walked back this claim. A senior law enforcement official with direct knowledge of the investigation cautioned that the report had not been verified by ATF analysts, did not match other summaries of the evidence, and might turn to have been misread or misinterpreted. On Thursday afternoon, Crowder revealed that his company had been subpoenaed. I will also stress the Wall Street Journal corroborated this with an individual involved in the investigation. That being said, as I stated earlier, I stated in the morning, this is preliminary. These statements on transgender ideology, take it with a grain of salt, but Crowder's reporting is very, very likely accurate, very credible. He's reported on leaked information from law enforcement before. This turned out to be accurate and correct. However, as much as Crowder verified the identity and the authenticity of the documents, it doesn't mean that the internal document itself, written by the feds, is true and correct. However, I think based on Wall Street Journal, and there's been others that have corroborated this, and not just through this post, but they said through people involved in the investigation, I think that's likely the case. My concern is with these New York Times saying it's being walked back, is that they're not actually walking it back. They're just saying it may have been misinterpreted. Okay, so it may not have been misinterpreted. So when we have multiple sources saying this is what it expressed, maybe you're wrong. I don't know. Maybe they misinterpreted it. Okay, well, maybe not. Maybe that's what it said, and this is what we're dealing with.
Crowder was the first one to publish the Audrey Hale journal.
That's right. And I would also add, based on the internet sleuthing of 4chan, it corroborates this report as well. So again, it's very early and subject to change. We don't know entirely. But I believe that 4chan had begun aggregating information pertaining to the shooter evidence and things linking various posts online that linked to a single individual. And I believe they've found an individual who made a post predicting the death of Charlie Kirk at this age. Take it with a grain of salt.
They made a track on their SoundCloud, actually. They released a track with the title of that, yeah.
Right. And so this individual, I believe, was also transgender and lived in the area. So they then published a name and lined up the images that they found of this person with the images released by the FBI of their person of interest. And so that's what they're going on right now. Sometimes the internet gets things wrong. To be honest, 4chan actually has a really good track record.
Weaponized autism.
Yeah. And it's because 4chan is just a forum of tons of people all doing a little bit. So it's not that, 4chan itself is uniquely empowered. It's that active people on a forum constantly investigating with knowledge of computers and research tend to figure these things out. Well,
I mean,
you're seeing a lot of posts, and this is obviously all speculation, but you're seeing a lot of posts the day before the shooting from other transgender people in the area of the shooting saying tomorrow's going to be a big day or sending threats to Charlie Kirk. So there's also a lot of people speculating that perhaps the shooter had made this plans known, perhaps in Discord or something like that beforehand. But this shooter obviously, you know, if there's any credence to this, was obviously bold and boisterous about what their plans were beforehand, what his plans were presumably.
I think it's very, very obviously organized.
Yeah.
It's fascinating when people talk about this being a professional hit, and there are these theories about Charlie wearing a steel plate, which he was not. And there's, I'm hearing a lot of people say, like, how did he escape? And I'm like, I don't know, humans, what is it, like a moderately trained human runs a 6-minute mile?
Mm-hmm.
So within a minute, this dude's jumping off, running down the stairs, running through the building, jumping down, and how many miles could he be away in 15
Keep
minutes?
in mind, there were 3,000 people there. That means 3,000 people were like, I am getting the hell out of Dodge. Like, everyone was trying to leave.
So this individual
It's a lot of cover.
gets off the roof, runs to a wooded area, ditches the weapon, and then takes off their hood and mask or whatever they were wearing, and now they instantly look like someone else. So even if you track this person from surveillance cameras into the wooded area, with all of the people running around, all they had to do was wait for a group of people to be walking by and walk out with them. And then, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you also saw a lot of these leftists after the assassination attempts on Trump saying, get it right next time, or this, that, just really horrible things. So, that's going through the mind through a lot of these sickos is like, I'm going to be the one that gets this right this time. And so they're getting more meticulous, more prudent. And that's a really horrifying thing, is that this can happen and he can get away. Get away and not get picked up right away. I mean, that's an absolutely petrifying thing.
He's still just out there. It's terrifying.
Well,
They were supposed to have a press conference earlier today, and they canceled it due to rapid development.
Yeah.
And
there's rumors.
There's rumors that they got the person, and then they've just not said anything, and they're going to reveal that in 30 minutes.
Perp walk on stage, hood over the head on stage.
We'd like to see a
At
little
the press
more done, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we saw the report last night. I think it was the BBC that they were going door to door. So at that moment, my heart kind of sunk. I thought, oh, this guy got away. This is a positive development. They're doing a press conference, and obviously there's a lot of very angry people that would like to see some things done. But a perp walk, I suppose, will suffice.
Did you see any update on the rumors about that private jet?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
But that doesn't mean a lot. So for those that aren't familiar, someone tracking flight radar, a private jet took off. What was it, like an hour or like almost immediately after the shooting? And then it dropped off radar before returning. But what does that mean?
We don't know whose it is.
Considering it was a Charlie Kirk TPUSA event, there are many high profile people. It could have been just a wealthy donor who got on his plane and left.
Yeah.
They turn off their transponders. It's not their transponder they turn off, but they drop off radar. And this is standard wealthy people hiding their flight path from stalkers or whatever. So you don't know. I mean, we don't know.
But that rumored suspect calls himself God's finest scalpel.
Right.
Has a song or a track called Death to All Utah Screamo, and another one called 4chan Fight Club, and many others. Dead in June.
Yep.
August.
It's called Dead in August?
No, both. There's Dead in June, and then another one after it called August.
Whoa.
Scarification.
Did you see what they're doing on Reddit?
Techniques.
On Reddit, all of the top songs on r/music are insulting Charlie Kirk. So, like, one example is the song "That's What You Get" by Paramore is a top song. There's one that's, I think one's called Charlie's Death or something like that. They're submitting. This is the terrifying thing. They're submitting songs with titles that poke at the assassination of Charlie, and the community itself, a decentralized group, are upvoting all of these songs.
Jeez.
Which is going viral. I wonder if I can pull that up, actually.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help when you have elected politicians setting the tone that, his rhetoric, is problematic and these sorts of things. So it's like, okay, we need to tone down the rhetoric. So they're already setting the tone that having conservative principles is beyond the pale. So the fact that the more extreme ends are calling for this is not a surprise at all. I mean, there's zero tone policing happening on the left, or virtually no tone policing.
It's called Goodbye. Oh, this is insane. I'm going to pull it up. This is Reddit. Let me zoom out. You get what you give. Then there's just some news. You're dead. This is America. I'm afraid of Americans. Goodbye, Charlie. Better off dead.
Wow.
That's what you get. Sleep now in the fire. Nazi punks F off. Ironic. Protect your neck. It's okay to punch Nazis. Yep. Good riddance by Green Day. The day the Nazi died. Death of a clown. The dead Kirks. Mr. Kirk, your son is dead. That's insane.
We can't share a society with these people.
Oh, there you have one called Balzabub, the username.
Yeah.
Very on the nose.
Yeah, that's just insane. We do have this story, which I would like to pull up from Times Now News. Who is Anastasia J. Casey? Mysterious author behind, quote, The Shooting of Charlie Kirk. A book that appeared on Amazon is titled The Shooting of Charlie Kirk, but it has a published date of September 9th, the day before Charlie died. So I'll just make it pretty easy for you guys. There's a conspiracy theory going around that this was a pre-planned event, that it's some kind of deep state or conspiracy. Many people are sharing this saying, how is this possible? It's actually really simple. Somebody uploaded a book to Amazon, so the publish was there, and then they updated it a day later. That's it. Someone on September 9th published a book. This is likely what happened. Maybe it's not. Then yesterday, seeing there's a chance to monetize, to capitalize on it, and with better SEO, updated the book that was already there with a new title. And it's called The Shooting of Charlie Kirk. And what's happening is across Amazon, these books are all AI generated. So people are going onto AI programs, telling it to write a book about what happened with Charlie Kirk's death and some biographical information, and then they're selling it. We live in a screwed up and nightmarish dystopia already. Basically, the play is right now, if you know, they all got 1-star reviews. If you know how to AI generate 100 pages, which is very easy, you can rip off some old people who buy books who don't know better. And they'll read your AI slop for $7 a piece. And some people will think it proves foreknowledge of Charlie Kirk's death.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really easy to actually game the Amazon system. There's a YouTuber, Max Fosh, and he does these like challenges and pranks and stuff. And he took his friend's text messages and put it into the Amazon book portal or whatever to make a book. And then he put it in a really niche category. So then it only took like 10 people to buy that book, and it became a bestseller right away. So it's like you can game this so easy. And this AI stuff is clouding. I mean, there's a cloud of war. I mean, I remember after the shooting happened and the videos started coming out, the first thing everyone was saying to each other was like, oh, this has to be AI. And it's just completely muddying the water. It's muddying the discourse. I mean, Twitter's getting unusable to a degree just because of the amount of slop on there between AI and the third world. It's very, very hard to parse through and get real information. With the way that these mechanisms work on Amazon, it's just getting more and more confusing, and truth is getting harder and harder to find. It's just, it's horrifying times at every level.
I don't know. It's just, I'm getting to the point where I'm just like exhausted with all the misery because of this, like seeing.
I feel like, a lot of it is just inflated because of the AI or just the bots, and it causes a reaction on each side that inflates the inflation of it.
Yeah.
So that we are we're not looking at actual reactions, really. They're just magnified by some beginning point that's already so much put into it, like so many examples of.
We have the press conference is getting set up right now. We're expecting it at 9:30. So right now they're just setting up the TV and the podium and everything. So we'll just have this ready to go for when we get when we see them come on. But stay tuned, and it'll be up when it's up. In the meantime, yeah.
I was just going to respond to what you said, and I'm not saying that this is you, but many people are under a misapprehension that if you just put your phone away and live in the real world and touch grass, etc., that you will be shielded from these sentiments. And this incident, more than almost anything, has proven that wrong. Because people are seeing their friends, family, colleagues, acquaintances, strangers just out in the world, in public, reacting to this news with glee. And they're realizing they didn't know these people as well as they thought they did. And it's not online discourse. It's not just online discourse where people feel safe behind a profile picture. This is face-to-face. I feel
like the prevalence of it, the amount of it, is causing a surge in the reality of the way people are responding to it. They're responding to what they think is happening, which is inflated by what happens online in our society now. The magnification of sentiment is. It's not to say that I don't believe people are capable of being so horrific about this event. I mean, this thing that happened. I mean, just laughing and
We're seeing
celebrating
people in the streets with, signs, sandwich boards they're wearing, supporting this killing. And, yes, sometimes outrage can be manufactured and amplified and magnified beyond what it really is. Like, okay, like maybe normal people in their daily lives don't really care about what happens to the Cracker Barrel logo. This is completely different. Completely different. And people prior to this tragedy on the right, a lot of the time we're saying we need to focus on the positive stuff. We're living in a golden age and everything's great and we won. Just accept that we won and stop complaining and only focus on the victories, right? But that's just not addressing reality. And it's the uncomfortable reality that these people, we coexist with them. We have no other choice. And they don't want to coexist with us. Then we put them in jail. Yes. If you're of the opinion that you're not able to coexist with the people that you share a country with, and you think that it's acceptable to do whatever because you'll make yourself the victim, you'll accuse them of all kinds of things, and you'll say, I'm a victim, they don't believe I exist, they don't acknowledge my existence, whatever kind of garbage emotional manipulation the left wants to use or the leftist wants to use. If you're saying, I can't exist with those people and so I'm going to act out violently, then we put you in jail. That's it. And again, I'm tired of... They're not crazy. I don't care what they are. They're prisoners in my world. We need to be clear about that. They're not just lunatics, maniacs, crazy people. Right. The man who killed Irina Zarutska was not crazy. He wasn't merely crazy, at the very least, is what I'll say. That's not the reason that happened. And it's funny because, people point to similar situations, similar crimes, just cold-blooded murder of a stranger. And you see every single time they choose the weak. Yes. They're at least sentient enough to know who is defenseless and who is weak and who is an easy target. So they're not quite detached enough from reality to ever pick a fight with someone their own size who could actually fight them off. So they're not merely crazy. Maybe that's a factor, but that's not telling the whole story.
Yeah, all the people that
It absolves them.
This is a really excellent point, because I mean, all the people we're seeing, cheer and they're in total jubilee.
Yeah.
These aren't crazy people. These aren't schizophrenics or whatever. These are
yeah.
people that have come to this conclusion through a collection of information that they've processed through their worldview and have deemed this is correct. We can't outsource this to some sort of mental illness.
They have jobs, and
these are people whose souls have been corroded.
Work in administrative roles. They have middle management jobs.
Yeah.
They
send a few emails.
Yeah. Hopefully they won't have jobs soon, but they're existing in daily life with us, and you never know when you're encountering one of them.
Look, when you
to be fair, to Carlos Brown, the guy that killed Irina, he was probably schizophrenic.
Probably, but he was acting on a culture that
not completely crazy is what she's saying.
And he was.
I'm just saying that doesn't explain it away.
No. I mean, you should still be put to death. Yes,
there are
you should get the full extent of the law.
Normie people at various jobs that people are aggregating that are posting this image. It is a cartoon of Charlie Kirk with blood coming from his neck, and it says "Debate this." They are saying outright, if you try to have a dialogue, that they will kill you. And these are not far left extremists that we expect to see in these activist organizations. The images that are being shared across social media, these are teachers, these are nurses, these are pilots, these are professors at universities, which we kind of expect some radicalization. But this image it's horrifying that someone drew this up, and they are selling it on T-shirts, posting it all over the place at universities. And again, the terrifying aspect of it is that people on X right now, I'm reading, they're saying, here's a nurse. Here's what she posted on her Instagram.
Yep.
And it says, debate this. They are saying if you come to have a conversation, you die. Mm-hmm. I don't know where we go. I just hope the adequate and appropriate law enforcement does what it has to do to start putting a stop to this.
Law enforcement.
The only reason that those images are not incitement to violence and death threats is because they already killed Charlie, which is the horrifying thing about it. Mm-hmm. If they took a picture of me or any other personality or anyone in this room and it said debate this with blood spraying, you could interpret that as a death threat, as an imminent threat. Mm-hmm. But Charlie being dead, they're posting and plastering this thing everywhere, and we know what it means.
Yep. So law enforcement should kick in their door and drag them out of their house, throw them in the paddy wagon, take them to jail. We will try them.
Phil, paddy wagon's offensive. I'm Irish.
Right.
Throw them in the squad car. Is that good?
I actually don't know what they're called because everyone calls them paddy wagons, but
They need those big nets, like dog catchers.
Yeah. Just toss them in the car, bring them to jail, and
police van.
A shepherd's crook to bring them around.
No. I want doors kicked in, flashbang, entry team, scare the hell out of them.
It's getting really hard not to Fed post in real life right now.
No, this isn't Fed posting. I want the government to do this.
I'm saying this. You're giving the sensible center right take of how we should be reacting to this right now.
Yo. Police van is the appropriate term because a paddy was a derogatory slur for Irish people.
That's what I thought.
How dare you, Phil?
Yeah,
I'm Irish, Phil.
They don't mind. The Irish have got a great sense of humor.
I had heard that somewhere, but I never actually fact checked it. But ChatGPT says it's true, so therefore it is, I guess.
Same with hooligan. Hooligan was also a Irish slur. Yeah.
Oh.
What, really?
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Madigan or some Irish name,
Houlihan.
right? Yeah, Houlihan. I was just about to say this reminds me of
from Houlihan.
Yeah.
It was a 19th century London slur for the Irish, originating from the surname Houlihan.
Yeah.
You leave at the table a bunch of hooligans right now.
I have
Disgusting
Irish
hooligans
ancestry as well.
Man, people did not like the Irish.
But last summer, there was this intra-right debate going on about the woman that Libs of TikTok, I believe, posted about who worked at Home Depot, who was posting on Facebook about the assassination attempt against Trump. And I think she said something to the effect of, I wish that it was successful. And then I believe it was Libs of TikTok that ended up exposing her information and who she was and trying to get her fired. And I think Home Depot might have actually fired that woman.
Yeah.
But there was at the time this very heated debate on the right about whether that was ethical and should we only be targeting people with public platforms whose job it is to comment on these things instead of just ordinary people who've had their minds raped by CNN. Is that okay. And now that this has happened, if they had the foresight of where we would be right now, there would be no debate about it.
It's the ordinary people with nothing to lose that do things like we saw yesterday.
Yes.
It's not your streamers going out and doing this. These are the radicals at the bottom, like Tim's talking about. It's people that have nothing to lose and they feel like, okay, this is my way to get into the history book or whatever. Or at the very least, they just want to settle a score because of some perceived injustice that's been done.
Or just ordinary evils like disowning family members, cutting off friendships.
Right. So it's like, no holds barred. I say it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. We're dealing with the death cult. They relish. There's been 60 million children aborted, and they love that. They celebrate. They celebrate the death of
I think
children.
they're saying something. Oh, they're doing a mic check. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's like, no, give no quarter here. Enough. There's no way out of this. I mean, you have to completely demoralize them, completely break them.
The full force of the federal government should come down on terrorists in the United States.
So I guess the issue is, right? But what happens when it's banal?
What do you mean by that?
What happens when there's a random dude walking on the street in New York getting stopped by Don Lemon who says that he thought it was a good thing and then he's glad it happened? What happens when people are posting on social media lists of names?
You mean, and there's no reaction to it? People
No,
go
what I'm
like,
saying
this is par for the course.
when you have a terrorist organization and they have a list of targets, you go into a room and you find 7 people and they have weapons and a list of targets, you make an arrest. Who do you arrest when it's everyone in New York? And not literally everybody, but Don Lemon walked down the street and was asking random people. Tons of these videos have popped up of man on the street interviews where people are going to universities, and I know it's selectively edited. They're choosing, but there are people all over cheering for it and saying they want more. So the issue is the standalone complex. It's easy to say arrest terrorists, and it's like, okay, so what are they going to do? Arrest 100,000 people tomorrow? It's not going to happen. It's impossible. There's not enough federal law enforcement to arrest it. Even if 100,000 people all stood outside screaming at the top of their lungs, they intended to commit an act of violence, the federal government doesn't have the manpower to arrest everybody.
How do you eat an elephant?
I think
One bite at a time.
Yeah, I mean, if you create a hostile environment, like if you know you'll lose your job for rattling off.
Well, you start with the eyes, and then the anus, because you have to go for the soft parts that you can
cook that very well.
No, it's like, I mean, a lot of people, because there's some people on the right. I mean, that's how we were boxed in for so long, is because we were petrified of losing our jobs, petrified of this, that, and the other. It's like you just have to create that same hostile environment on the other side. Is if they realize that, there's actually ramifications for, bathing in blood like this, then they'll think twice about it. I mean, there's a lot of mechanisms that we haven't used yet that are now starting to get used.
What I will say is cancel culture is back, baby. And I don't care. I ain't gonna do anything. I'm not gonna talk. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna share some of the stuff that I'm seeing all over X. It's very difficult. But there's a woman who's mocking the death of Charlie Kirk with hundreds of thousands of followers dancing on TikTok. And so people found out where found her husband's business and have review bombed it online into oblivion. It is now a 1-star business.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I think anyone tone policing the right now, just take a little long look in the mirror, reevaluate what your priorities are, because that's just ridiculous after what we've been through this last week, especially, but let alone yesterday. Yeah, like I said,
about the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're tone policing right now at this moment, like, what are we doing here?
Wow.
You're an op at this point.
People are spamming the image of his wife dancing on his page with the phrase thoughts and prayers and 1-star reviews. And he's got his business used to be rated 5 stars, and now it is got 1,000 1-star reviews.
Well, at least it'll be a new Spirit Halloween there. That'd be nice.
They're not used to OPSEC, are they, on the left?
They're not at all.
They don't take those precautions at all.
Well, the right didn't engage in cancel culture, didn't have the ability for the most part, didn't respond with violence ever or do anything. And that's why they all gloated and laughed and mocked. And I think to these liberals that are crying on their shows now, it's because, or Hassan, for instance, there's a video going viral right now that I don't think we can play. They say it's a montage of Hassan calling for violence against right-wingers. Now he's panicking because he's realizing the game just started.
Yep.
And I mean the game figuratively. I'm saying what he advocated for, because he says in a video game, we should go do this in a video game.
Yeah, the feds should pick him up, denaturalize him, and send him to Turkey.
Real.
Yeah, I saw the
IRL, yeah, absolutely, in real life, not in a game. Pick him up, strip him of his citizenship because he is an anchor baby. Send him to Turkey.
Oh, and seize assets.
Well, he was born
What?
here, though, right?
He was
And
born in
sees his
Jersey, but
assets.
Yeah,
grew up
he-
in Istanbul, so it's like yeah, he's familiar with the area. He'll love it. It's like a homecoming.
Anchor baby.
Be a great
He's
time.
not a real American. Get him out of here.
Yep.
It's kind of ironic that Charlie's organization is what he's begun here in our country. The turning point is like the tipping point of
Yeah.
many things in our society now. I mean,
do
it feels like
wonder,
that.
Like, what is the future of Turning Point as an organization? Obviously, nobody can fill Charlie Kirk's shoes, but someone will actually have to take over his position in that organization if it's to continue, and we need it to. And that's what he would want.
Yeah.
It's a really vital institution on the right. I mean, I was talking about it earlier. Is like he's taking a lot of people that are already conservative, like they grew up in Republican homes, but he's giving them pathways into becoming assets for the movement, broadly speaking. And we need Turning Point. I mean,
Milo is going nuclear.
Yeah, he is. He's great. I love him.
he's back.
Milo has been, he said, all right, I am unretiring. And he began posting many of these progressives celebrating the death of Charlie and then reporting that they had been fired from their jobs.
Yeah, the most recent one is the guy there was a pilot that was saying some disgusting things, and Milo informed his employer, and he is no longer employed.
Milo is like the hatchet man for the right, so
Yeah.
it's about time that he's back.
Maybe
This is like,
a new Milo college tour.
yeah, but
He actually talked about that. Yeah,
We might need that. This is like when MJ came back out of retirement. Like there's three
awesome.
rings that he's gonna win now. This is
I met
beautiful.
the first time I met Milo is he went to Dartmouth College in New Hampshire, and I drove up there to see the show and hang out and stuff. And he was awesome.
Yeah, we need guys like that. Like Libs of TikTok's excellent. Like you need those people that are operating kind of where this leftist violence is coming from. Like it's coming from these ordinary people. I mean, it's easy to go after these streamers or politicians or whatever, but it's like where the insurgency is going to happen and where things are going to get kinetic. That's where you need to be concentrating assets and resources. And so people like that, I mean, they're doing the Lord's work. There's no question about it.
I would love to see Milo go on another college tour after this.
We love you, Milo.
I would love it.
We had asked
and
him
he's
about
even
it.
more powerful now that he's not homosexual.
Right.
Dangerous.
It's
What?
we had
Dangerous guy.
He's just a dangerous man.
Dangerous
I'm a
hetero.
dangerous queen. I
That's
mean,
the
let's
name of
be
his
honest
book.
here.
When we asked him about it, he goes, "I'm 40." That's how that was his response, and he should do it. He
Yeah.
absolutely should, and I think it would be tremendous.
Yeah.
And to clarify, what he said was, and I hope I'm quoting him correctly. The media claimed he was no longer gay. He never said that. He says he was refraining from engaging in homosexual behaviors, and
He does call himself ex-gay.
Right. But what he was saying was that he's still very much attracted to men, but he will
Yeah.
abstain from it because it's sinful. And the media
It could be like X Games. Who knows? Like a more
There was a woman
intense version of gay.
Well, I mean, I think Milo would.
someone's saying something. I don't know what he's. Mic check. Yeah, we got a mic check going.
There was a woman that offered to marry Milo, and he sent her back a contract term sheet. So it's like
application.
he's viewing heterosexuality very pragmatically, very business minded. He said, I think he said verbatim, "My people will talk to your people." So
I think he would just say that like being gay isn't a state of being; it's not an identity. So he never was gay to begin with.
yeah,
That's probably what
fact
he would
check
say.
true. Yeah, so welcome back, Milo. We're
so
glad
excited.
that our hatchet man is back.
I hope he means it. I hope it's not just a
He's not
you know,
teasing
heat
her.
of the moment thing that he's saying.
No, I think he does.
Yeah.
He gets it. He knows what
He's-
time it is.
Yeah.
He's not the kind of guy that says things that he doesn't mean.
Everyone across the right knows what time it is. Like every phone call I had this morning with my friends at every level, grassroots, whatever, they're saying the same thing, which is we have to do so much more. Like this Charlie's work is an indictment on us. Like we could be giving so much more.
Yeah.
While we're waiting for the press conference real quick, I want to play this clip. It should be starting any minute, but I want to play this from Ben Shapiro.
On a sort of personal level, aside from knowing Charlie and believing that Charlie was a wonderful human being, is the fact that for 10 years, more than that, I went to college campuses, did the same thing that Charlie did. And I always said to my wife and to people around me, they would say, well, you know, is it safe? And I'd say, of course it's safe. This is America. And sure, security would tell you to put on a bulletproof vest, but do you need a bulletproof vest to speak freely in America? Do you need hundreds of... I always thought it was overkill. I do not think it's overkill anymore. I think that we've entered into a new world, a world where huge percentages of the American public, by the polling, are okay with violence against one another based on speech, where excuses are made, permission structures are created for murder because you disagree with the political position of another human being. I'm not sure how we get back, except by appeal to the exact values that Charlie stood for. Open debate, normal discussion. The thing about all the videos of Charlie, he's unfailingly polite in these videos to people. When he is having these discussions, he is polite. He was having polite, normal conversations with people who disagreed on these college campuses. And for that, he was murdered.
Yeah. Indeed. Someone just super chatted. Carlo Magno says, Tim, are you pro death penalty for Charlie's killer? You know what I said the other day when this question came up is that in a moment like this, it's almost impossible to be morally consistent. And someone quoted, I think it was like Alinsky, who said something to the effect that consistency, I forgot what the quote was, but something like, in politics, there is no moral consistency. Something like that. And that's what we see from the left. What I can just say is, the difficulty is, of course, the attempt to destroy a nation. This is more than just another murder, another act of violence. This was a public display at a high-profile political event in one of the most gruesome ways, with the intention to rip this country in half and burn it to the ground, which is substantially more devastating than just someone walking down the street and then, you know, getting shot in a mugging or something. Which, of course, even in like those kinds of murders, you typically don't get the death penalty. But typically the death penalty is reserved for torturous murder and very extreme cases. And this is one of the most extreme cases ever. And the only thing I can say is when the officers came out and said that Utah has the death penalty, I said, okay. I am typically against it because my concern is you create a machine that allows for the state to decide when they kill somebody, and the state will get it wrong. It will. It just happens. However, in the singular instance of Charlie Kirk's killer, I believe that what law enforcement deems appropriate, let me just be fair, guys. I'll put it this way. As I've long said, I oppose the death penalty, but I'm not an activist. I don't go out and march, and I don't demand moratoriums. It's not the biggest issue on my plate. I just lean slightly against it and say, here's why. Yeah,
the idea that you can't change your mind about an issue, I mean, up that dude's hoo-ha. I mean, it doesn't, you're a human being, and this is a different situation.
Well, but real quick, sorry, Phil, just logically, I oppose the death penalty.
Okay, that's totally, but I think it's also there are exceptions, I mean, there are exceptions.
Sure, right.
So that's all. Yeah.
Sometimes a crime is so egregious and so heinous.
Guys, it's very simple. My opinion has evolved.
Exactly.
Well, but mine hasn't. My feelings on the matter are that of rage and a demand for retribution. My logic centers are, regardless of the circumstances, a state that has the authority that you grant it to kill people ultimately will result in Kamala Harris as your executioner throwing other people like Charlie Kirk in the machine that you have authorized, and that's what I fear. So it is a difficult but good question. It's a good question.
This the scenario that you described at the end there is always possible, right? Like they're not going to say, "Well, you don't like it, so I don't like it either." That is the overarching situation that we're in that the people on the right need to realize when we are concerned about using the power that the right has access to. We must remember the left has no reservation like that.
Did you all know that Charlie Kirk called black children a gift from God?
Of course he did.
Of course he did. You see, the actual context and circumstance is that a black woman with her child came to speak to Charlie at an event, and he asked her about her child and said, with a smile on his face, that is a gift from God. Now, the way I framed it, of course, was to make it sound like a more activist-y statement about race. The reason I did that is because when he openly criticized Ketanji Brown Jackson, the left took his quote out of context and claimed he was calling black women in general stupid. So I can do the same thing. When Charlie Kirk saw an individual woman with a child and said, "Your child is a gift from God," with a smile on his face, and they both smiled and said, "Thank you," I can decontextualize it and make it sound like he was praising all black people. The reality is Charlie was not a racist. They lie because they need to make you hate him. And when I mentioned there's a liberal friend of mine who on Instagram posted a video saying that Charlie got the world that he wanted, something to that effect, I guarantee you, I would bet all the money I got that this person who posted it never once listened to anything Charlie had to say.
Of course not.
And some random psychopath made a post out of context to lie, and she saw it and believed it because these people are demons. They are evil. And someone made a post about how this has, they said that they don't believe in God. They don't know if God's real, but they know demons are. They know evil is. And seeing what happened to Charlie has them considering, faith or religion. I was talking with Jack Posobiec, and I told him, I said, Jack, the most compelling argument for religion to me is never the resurrection, because I don't know. I don't believe in the resurrection the way you do, but I know demons exist because I've seen them. It is indescribable, the evil that I've seen that defies human vices. And that's the argument to me. So I'll explain that, because that was the conversation I had with Jack, and we had a conversation about it. But what I mean is, typically you'd expect humans to act towards some kind of human interest, or they're mentally ill. So there is the greed, lust, wrath, sloth, envy, etc. And envy is a principal motivator for many of the left. This is a plainly human reaction. Someone wants a thing. Greed. Someone wants a thing. So when they steal, you understand the human nature and element of that. But I have seen politically and personally people who have taken actions that serve only to destroy themselves and those around them with smiles and twisted grins, seemingly just for the purpose of pain, suffering, destruction, or desecration. And I couldn't comprehend why they would do it. The only explanation is evil. Because if you were to look at a person who is good and they're trying to help you, you can always say, well, look, he is trying to help you, but he knows that if you succeed, he succeeds. A rising tide lifts all ships. Oh, he's only helping you because he expects this, or, you're going to owe him a favor, things like that. But what is the function of evil? When someone grabs a child and chucks him off a third floor of a mall, for just there's no benefit to themselves, there's no benefit to humanity. It only serves to cause pain to the individual. This really happened. It was a Mall of America. The individual who did it is to be to suffer for it. And again, there's the argument of, but they're mentally unwell. Many of these individuals, you would argue, are. But there are people who are seemingly functioning, logical, sane individuals who do things like this, and it defies logic. They are not behaving in a way that benefits even their own selfishness. They are taking an action that only destroys, causes suffering to literally everyone in themselves. And that, to me, is just evil. It's demonic. And they laugh as they burn. And I'm like, that is not logical or sane or rational, or I don't know what's wrong with them. I suppose the easy answer is there must be some defect in their brain when they do these things, but I'm like, some of these people are high functioning and they act normal, and then they do evil things.
It's not a cognitive dysfunction. You're right. They are under the influence of demons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The light will shine into the darkness, and the darkness will not comprehend it. It completely defies human reason. That's the point. And that's why trans people specifically seem to have this propensity towards violence and violent fantasies, because their entire existence is annihilation of self and radical rebellion against God.
Mm-hmm. While we're waiting, because the press conference, of course, is running late, we'll grab your Rumble rants and chats. So smash the like button, share the show. The uncensored portion of the show is coming up at 10, perhaps, unless the press conference runs long. We will stay here for the breaking news. Shanitz Wilder says, I'll be leading a prayer space for Charlie and his family Sunday night at 8:30, 7:30 Central on X. We'll pray the Sacred Heart, Divine Mercy, and St. Michael's Chaplet. All the Timcast family is welcome to join. Right on. All right. Mythos says, the doxing on Twitter is beautiful. So much scum getting consequences. No, let's clarify. No one's getting doxed. These people have made public posts on profiles that have identified themselves. No one is showing their address or anything. What we're seeing is they made a public post and on their profiles is like, I work for company. And then someone tags company, hey, this person works for you, and then the company fires them.
It's never even crossed their mind that they would face consequences. Yeah. Full name, face, LinkedIn.
Yeah, they're always just like confused when they
have no idea.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Will Austin says, I work for Scott Pressler's Early Vote Action. We do the work Turning Point does, just on a smaller scale. Now would be a great time if you had Scott Pressler back on the show. We need your help, Tim. We'll reach out. Mr. Beebe says, can you look into the report Alex Jones put out about the New York Times headline from 9/9 about Charlie Kirk shooting? He said there were headlines on the Wayback Machine 19 hours before the incident. Indeed, because what these companies do is they write articles, then when news breaks, they go to the existing article, erase it, and rewrite it. Why? Because it maintains Google search optimization. It is disgusting. And there were a few high-profile instances where the New York Times did this. They wrote an article that was fact-based, neutral about the Reddit CEO. This is back in, I think, like 2014. It went viral on Reddit, for instance. It was like the number 1, 3, and 5th most viewed articles of all time. And then within like a day or so, they changed the article to an opinion piece about how misogynists had trampled feminism. So if you went on Reddit and you saw a headline that said Reddit CEO fired and clicked it, it would bring you to an op-ed about feminism. That violates Reddit's rules and was unprecedented. I reached out to several moderators at the time and I asked them, I said, the rules for these subreddits is that the title of the post must be identical to the title of the headline. There is obviously some forgiveness if the title of the headline alters in only the most minimal of ways, like punctuation or articles. But these are different articles. And there was some communication between the moderators. They were all shocked that the New York Times was doing this because of what it meant for Reddit as moderators. And they agreed to delete all the posts because they broke the rules. The New York Times did because they're trying to game Google to rip off the system and make money. Pretty wild. All right, let's see what we got. Kenna Olivia says, rest in peace, Charlie, an American hero. Tim and everyone, your live shows, tonight especially, make me and many others not feel so alone. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. In this pain. God bless you all. Andre Tugalescu says, Charlie Kirk should be canonized. You know, I've been hearing that. A lot of people saying that. What do you think, Mary?
Well, he wasn't Catholic. I don't think a non-Catholic
He wasn't Catholic?
No, he was.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I've heard that his wife is Catholic. I didn't know that.
She's devout Catholic, yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't think a non-Catholic can be.
I'm pretty sure you're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Certainly a man of faith, though.
Yeah.
Not to discredit that.
Yeah, Ian said that the other night, and there are criteria that have to be met. You can't just be like, really awesome dude.
2 miracles have to be attributed.
Just 2? Okay.
Did you see people were posting Je suis Charlie?
Yeah. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are posting I am Charlie, or his name in the chat. There's people that are posting his name was Charlie Kirk. There's a lot of people that are saying, Je suis Charlie Kirk. And good, because people understand that this could very easily be them. The people that killed Charlie don't love normal conservatives either, and they would do horrible things to you as well. So
we got this video You know, I knew this, and I'm just seeing it now again, that Charlie was from Chicago.
Oh, really?
He was from Arlington Heights, which is a northern suburb, but the Chicagoland area. And someone posted, let me see if I can pull this up, while we're still waiting for this press conference. I'll keep the audio low so we can hear if it starts.
I'll listen closer.
Isabel Brown posted this. From his high school yearbook, he was voted most likely to become president.
Yeah.
Wow.
Most likely to take over the world.
Wow.
Most likely to make a difference in the world. Charlie Kirk. Wow.
Unreal.
We have a clip that I want to pull up of Benny Johnson snapping on Chris Cuomo as we wait for this press conference. Any word yet? No? All right. So let's start from the beginning. It's a minute.
I don't really care how we got here so much. There is a lot of blame to go around. I do not see you guys as victims. You give as good as you get. There is a lot of anger. There is a lot of exaggeration. It is all hate for profit on the fringe of this battling binary political system. My question is, my question is now what?
Charlie Kirk has never advocated. Charlie Kirk has never advocated violence ever. Charlie Kirk was only
I'm not saying he did.
a nonviolent, peaceful debater. He went into places where he knew he was hated in order to engage.
I agree.
Kindly and humanly
that
with people.
he was not about violence.
For you to say that it's the same thing.
Hold on.
It's not, Chris.
Hold on. I'm not talking about it with Charlie. Benny, don't play games with me. I'm giving you latitude because you deserve it, because this was your friend, and this is scary, and it hurts, and it could have just as easily been you.
The dehumanization is wrong. It's wrong. And
There's no question, but Benny,
you'll never be able to chew me out, Chris, because I'll never dehumanize.
Benny,
if I hear that Joe Biden gets a terminal cancer diagnosis, I'll say a prayer for him. I'll say that I hope he lives the rest of his days painless. That's exactly what I said, and every person that I know and respect, and I know them all in my ecosystem, said the same thing. Not a single one of us celebrated. Not a single one of us celebrated Joe Biden's terminal cancer diagnosis. Now, I can show you a endless series of TikToks and celebration posts and T-shirts made celebrating this travesty. There is a fundamental difference of those who glorify death on the left, and it is demonic, it's sick, and it's dark, and it needs to be.
All right, but
it needs to be disavowed.
I hear
Chris Cuomo is part of the problem.
Absolutely.
It is a fact in the mainstream political space that there are prominent liberals who scream into the camera that Trump is a threat, that we are a threat. There are prominent, high-profile liberals who intentionally lie about all of us and smear us and claim that we're calling for violence. They posted videos where they said that Charlie Kirk wants you dead. They do it on purpose. It's stochastic terrorism. And Chris Cuomo has the gall to say it's coming from both sides. You know, I ask myself this periodically. Is it? Are we blinded by what's going on? Perhaps we're wrong by our own biases. And then I see every single day that, let's just call it 80-20 in both directions. And that is, on the right, 80% of the right-wing voices are saying, stop, we can't have violence. And on the left, it's inverted. You have your 20% or so of prominent liberals who are coming out now saying, we don't want this, we don't want this. And then you can take a look at the individual, I'm going to leave unnamed, a celebrity, saying Charlie got the world that he wanted. How about that? People like Ilhan Omar, people like Matthew Dowd on MSNBC who said it must have been shooting their guns in celebration, which is psychotic because people don't do that. Saying that he said awful things and he got it. And this happens all the time on the left at the highest levels. And I've got words for the Young Turks even, but I'm going to cut them slack because they've turned around in recent history, but we all know it. We know what Hassan Piker has said. The highest trafficked leftist streamer has a viral video right now that I cannot play because as the video states, he is calling for violence against the right. I can't repeat some of the things he said. And then he goes into video game. And then Chris Cuomo, because the dude can't read and is a liar, says it's coming from both sides. I'll say it again. A Patriot Prayer. An event in Portland. A guy showed up doing Nazi salutes and they threw him out. I'll say it again. I was at a Patriot Prayer Proud Boys March in Portland. Antifa counter-protested, and Antifa was screaming racial slurs at the top of their lungs at the Proud Boys because there were black people and Latinos. And there was a black man who was with the Proud Boys who started fuming, broke from the crowd, and went to cross the street. And a white Proud Boy ran up to him and grabbed him by the arm, turned him around and said, "Stop listening to him. You are my brother." Took his hand and said, "Don't let them divide us. You are my brother. Don't listen to them." And it was the white leftists screaming the racial slurs. There's a video where they went to an ICE facility screaming the N-word at police. So Chris Cuomo needs to pay attention and actually read about what's going on. But I'm not surprised the guy who faked having COVID and lied about it to this day would have no integrity. It looks like they may be getting ready for this press conference. We're still waiting, but we'll stick with it.
Yeah, they gave a 2-minute warning.
Is that what they did? Good. Yep. The looks like a police officer walked up to the podium. I'm sick of this game. I asked myself this today. I mentioned that story where it was the weirdest thing in the world for me to hear the words from my wife, "They killed Charlie," and how serious that meant for us, and why it is that for the past several years we have had to live with consideration of leftist violence and threats against our family. 15 swattings in 1 year, bomb threats, 2 bomb squads, my home being swept. They found a private address of mine that was leaked by someone who had private information, and they swatted it. We don't see that happening to Hassan. No, the worst that happened to Hassan was that Sam Hyde went on stage and said he was going to kill him, which is a bad thing, don't get me wrong.
All right, there's cash.
Here we go, press conference, we got cash. Oh, YouTube. Did you make it? Shout out to Cash Patel, by the way. Amazing work.
It's crazy I've spoken to that guy.
I know, it's amazing.
So weird, man.
It's crazy to me that we interviewed Donald Trump and he was the main guest on our show.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is Hillary Kellner. I am the Communications Director for the Utah Department of Public Safety. This evening, we have FBI Director Patel, FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, Special Agent in Charge Robert Bowles, Governor Spencer Cox, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, and Commissioner Anderson, as well as, Commissioner Bo Mason, as well as some local partners here present with us today. Governor, we'll kick it off.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here tonight. We appreciate the media and the partnership we have with you in helping us to get information out to the public so that we can catch this assassin and hold him accountable. We are going to share a portion of a video and that we have of the suspect, as well as some new stills. Those have already been released, but we want to make sure that they get as much attention as possible, so that we can get help from the public in tracking down this evil human being. So we're going to cue up the video right now. Show that. I've asked Commissioner Bo Mason if he would narrate to you what is happening in this video.
Thank you, Governor. Bo Mason, Commissioner for the Utah Department of Public Safety. If you look up to the top left, you'll see the building where the shooter was proned out in the top left corner. We'll go ahead and play that video and I'll narrate as we walk through that. So here you see that the suspect ran behind that upper building. He's going to come out on the right, moves to this far right corner. As he does, he's going to climb off the edge and then drop down to the ground. As he did that, he left some palm impressions. There's some smudges, some places we're looking to collect DNA. There's a shoe imprint where we believe the suspect is clearly identified as wearing Converse tennis shoes. Again, we'll replay that again so you can get another view of that. It's important to note his black t-shirt, his black pants, and there appears to be some white on the soles of those Converse tennis shoes. Those are all identifiable items that we're looking for. In the stills that are going to follow this, you're going to see a very distinctive t-shirt with an American flag and appears to have an eagle on it. There's also a baseball cap with a triangle on it and a pair of sunglasses. All distinctive, all things that we would ask the public to look for and try to identify if they know someone who has those items, who has been seen wearing those items. We're looking for all that information. Here you see the suspect after dropping off the building. He moved around across this grassy area, around the parking lot. We're going to pan to the right. After he crosses the street, this is where he moves over into the wooded area. This is the video evidence that we utilize to track his movements and to locate that firearm in that wooded area following the discovery of this evidence. Good. You want to go to the stills? So here's the still photographs. I mentioned these have been enhanced. So these are slightly different than what we introduced earlier. Please pay close attention to the T-shirt, like I said, very distinctive with that American flag and that eagle. The hat with the triangle and the sunglasses. If you go to the next picture, please. The backpack as well. All identifying features that we're hoping the public can help us identify and lead us to this suspect. Next picture. And again, there's a better picture of the hat with that triangle logo, and again the T-shirt, blue jeans, and you get a good look at those Converse tennis shoes as well. We have pushed these out. We'll continue to push these out, and we just ask for the public's cooperation through the public. The tips that have been coming in are what are giving us our next leads and enabling us to continue to further this investigation. We've had great cooperation from the public, and we're continuing to ask for that as we move forward. Thank you, and I'll turn time back over to Governor Cox.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mason. I want to thank Director Patel and his team. It's great to have them on the ground with us tonight. We've had several briefings, and he's had an opportunity to walk the crime scene. We appreciate our local law enforcement here. Again, we have Mike Smith, who is the county sheriff here. We have all of our local chiefs of police that are here as well, all working hand in hand with the state and with the FBI as we move forward with this investigation. Now, just give you a little more. We will not be taking any questions at this time. We're giving you the latest information we have, being as transparent with everything that we have. But I do want to share a couple things that I think are important. We cannot do our job without the public's help right now. The public has answered our call for action. So far, we've received more than 7,000 leads and tips. I would just note that the FBI hasn't received this many digital media tips from the public since the Boston Marathon bombing. This case also highlights the dedication of our law enforcement community. We have 20 federal, state, and local law enforcement partners that are working shoulder to shoulder to find the person who committed this horrific crime. With their support, we've completed nearly 200 interviews. As you're aware, as has already been reported, the FBI is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the identification and arrest of the person responsible for the murder of Charlie Kirk. We also continue to implore the public to support this investigation and come forward with any information. We are truly hopeful that this video and new photos will lead to even more tips. We are processing. We have an incredible team, a state and federal team working together to process those tips. We're going out in tandem to interview any potential person of interest or suspects. But we need, again, we need as much help as we can possibly get. Any videos or photos that you might have, the public, should be submitted to our digital media tip line, which is www.fbi.gov/Utah Valley shooting, all lowercase. Again, that is fbi.gov/Utah Valley shooting, all lowercase. You can also provide general tips about the shooting by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI, or at tips.fbi.gov. .fbi.gov. This is, I would just say, this is not just a local matter here in Utah. We have people all over the country that are helping to bring this perpetrator to justice for Charlie Kirk and his family. I will just add as well that, as was mentioned, there is a lot of forensic evidence that is being processed right now at both the state lab and the and federal labs, federal lab on the East Coast. So we are working in tandem together. I would also just add a word of note for those people who are spending so much time on social media. I think Charlie said it best, that when things get bad, we should put our phones down and spend a little time with our families. There is a tremendous amount of disinformation. We are tracking our team, the state team, and I'm sure the federal team as well. What we're seeing is our adversaries want violence. China, we have bots from Russia, China, all over the world that are trying to instill disinformation and encourage violence. I would encourage you to ignore those, to turn off those streams, and spend a little more time with our families. We desperately need some healing. We'll have more to say about that in the days and weeks to come. More than anything, we are going to catch this person. Last thing I will just say is we've been working with our attorneys, getting everything that we need, affidavits ready, so that we can pursue the death penalty in this case, and that will happen here in the state of Utah. Again, to the public, to those who are grieving, thank you for your prayers. I know we are feeling those prayers. I know the Kirk family is feeling those prayers as well. We pray that God will bless our nation at this very dark time. We can start healing by finding this perpetrator and holding him accountable, and we need your help to do that. Thank you.
Oh, no statement from Cash? All right.
Let down.
Oh, it's all right.
That's what I was saying.
Well, there you go. That's the press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the uncensored portion of the show. I want to talk about some of these videos from some of these liberals and leftists and what they've been saying. So you can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. That's going to be rumble.com/Timcast IRL in just about a minute or so as we go through rounding out this show. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Once again, join our Discord server at timcast.com. You can call into the show as a member of our Discord community, and this conversation doesn't stop. They have pre-shows, after-shows, hangouts, and there's we're working on community events. Despite the risks and threats, we're just adapting. So we'll figure that one out. Yeah, Jay, did you want to shout anything out?
No, I don't actually. I don't. I have some things in the works personally, but I don't have anything concrete right now.
Where can people find you?
This is actually pretty much nowhere right now. Yeah.
Well, all right.
Low profile. Yeah.
Amen.
Well, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you can find me on X and Instagram at Real Tate Brown. And just remember, Charlie was a titan because he reoccupied the mainstream and he shifted it. Be wise, be prudent, be careful, but be cautious if you're a young man. And just remember the left. If you've done your job correctly, the left will be celebrating when you left the arena.
You guys can go subscribe to Pop Culture Crisis. We go live every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and follow me on X, Instagram, or TikTok, all Mary archived.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I am the band is All That Remains. You can follow the band on YouTube, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, and Deezer. Go to the gym. Get in shape. There are people that hate you. Give them more reasons to hate you. Be champions.
We are going to keep the show going, so head over to rumble.com/Timcast IRL for the uncensored portion of the show where we have much more to discuss, and it's just not so fun. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you over there in about 30 seconds.